Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge. So today is a special consumer edition. So please do us a favor, click on the thumbs up button and be prepared to leave a comment at the end of this to tell us what your opinions are, or if you've ever been a panelist for Nielsen rating. So the reason I'm doing this special edition is because we just finished our time being panelist for the Nielsen rating system. What the Nielsen rating system does is it collects data and information on how we use social media, television, movies, radio, like anything that you can listen to or watch. They want to collect that data so that they can get an idea of what percentage of people, watch a particular television show or listen to a particular radio station. Obviously, I think the movie part of it is sort of weird because like movie theaters collect that data by, ticket sales. But yeah, they know what movies you go see at the theater, etc. So some of the things I want to cover are what the equipment is. So we'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about, some of the theories in regards to being a panelist. Like, what does it really mean? What does it really do? What are they really collecting? And then we'll also, of course, talk about the payments, as well as other options they have for payments. And I will tell you what our opinion is as far as being panelist, what it meant to us, what we thought about it, that kind of thing. And of course, to start out, I'm going to tell you how it works. So the way that it worked for us anyway, and it could be different for everyone, and this is for people that live in New England, so that's the upper part of the United States. So the eastern seaboard, we'll put it that way. I'm not sure about Florida though, or going that far down. We're in the upper part, so we're like in the tri-state area, as I call it. So the way it worked for us is for about 2 years, we received letters inviting us to give them a call to see if this is something, we want to do, as well as, of course, we'd have to answer a few questions to see if we qualified to become Nielsen panelist. On top of that, when they sent us these letters, which we received, like I said, probably over the course of a couple years, we ignored most of them like you do. And, we looked at them as junk mail, per se. But I always open all of the mail. So every time they would send us a letter, there was always, whether it be $1 per person. So in my household, there's 3 people. There would be $3 to $5 in every letter, like crisp, brand new, uncirculated bills, which I always thought was really strange. And we even thought they weren't real until we took some of them to the bank after we had like $8 or $9. And the teller told us, these are real. Like, she was looking at us like, what's wrong with you? And we told her like where they came from. She's like, oh, I've heard of other people getting those too. So if you receive a letter from Nielsen, open it. You might have coffee money in there or some allowance you could give your kids. Hey, $1 is $1. So that was one of the ways that they try to woo you, is by putting a few bucks into a letter. It also, I think, is a good way. I mean, if you don't open the letter, it goes to a landfill. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they're still spending money. So you might as well open that letter and see what's inside. The other ways that, so what happened is after we were contacted several times, I finally decided, like, what's the big deal? But my thought of the Nielsen rating was old-fashioned. I thought that you were going to have all these ugly wires and weird boxes all over your house, which is how it used to be. It actually might still be that way in some parts of the country, especially if you're remote. So what I'm going to show you as far as equipment goes might differ for you. But when I found out that the equipment was pretty minimalistic, which I like, the hub, which used to be a huge box, several boxes, dozens of wires, is now, for us anyway, was just this. We had one of these per floor, so a total of 3 of them in our house. So on every floor in whatever you consider to be the main sitting area or main resting area, you would actually plug one of these in an outlet that was near that area. Once you plugged it in, that part of it was done. The other part of the equipment is a charging station, which is what this is, and a meter, which is what's sitting inside of it, and the electrical cord for this unit. Every person in your home that participates will receive one of these in a personalized box with a couple other miscellaneous, really non-useful things. So every member in your house will receive a box just like this, and it'll have their name on it, and everything they need for their own meter will be in there. And in a separate box, you'll receive the hubs. So in our house, we had 3 people participating, so we had a total of 4 boxes delivered to our house. One for each person's meter and charging station, and then we had a separate box that contained all of the hubs. So that's it for equipment. Nothing else. So I was definitely interested in doing this after I found out that I didn't have to have my house be a mess, because I wouldn't do it if that was the case. And so what you do is, as far as the upkeep or care of the equipment, it's totally the responsibility of Nielsen to make sure that your stuff is working. But if you run into an issue, obviously, you can call them. They want you to call them. They love when you call them. The only irritation is if you do call them, they might ask you to verify and re-verify the information they already have on you and the folks in your home participating. I found that to be very irritating, but it is what it is, and sometimes things change and people forget to tell them. That's why they do that. So, like I said, in my house, we had 3 participants, and what we did is, before we ever signed up for this, after I received all the information and the facts, we actually talked about whether or not we wanted to do it, what it was, as well as how intrusive it would be into our lives, as well as, making sure that everyone understood that whatever you said was going to be picked up by these meters. So if you said something, did something, these meters were, that's what they do. They pick up the sounds, that information. I actually had a representative from Nielsen tell me that these meters are so sensitive that if you wear them on your chest, they can hear your heartbeat. So that told me that, whatever, there are theories, which I guess I'll get into quickly, conspiracy theories where people are like, oh my God, the government's listening to you. They're collecting all your information and data, which I'll tell you right now, they're probably doing anyway. If you use an ATM, if you walk by a camera in public, you drive a car that's, after the year 2000, I believe it is. There's an electronic box in there, sort of like a black box that they have on airplanes, that they can refer back to. Sorry about that, I'm stuttering here. and, figure out how fast you were going, etc. So if you think about these meters in that way, and if you're willing to accept, that intrusiveness, then you are a perfect candidate for this program. We decided we wanted to do it, and our child, as well as my husband and I, understood what it meant to do this. As well as we understood that it was a responsibility as far as wearing the meters when we were supposed to be wearing the meters. Because if you are not complying to the program, of course, they can discontinue it at any time. That's just the way it is. I mean, they're there to collect information for the entertainment industry and God only knows who else. And if they can't do that, then it makes no sense for you to be part of the program. Just going to enlarge out a little bit. So the other things to know are, let's just move some things out of the way. I'm going to go into what it means to be a panelist. So what it means to be a panelist, I mean, they send you these newsletters often, saying, thank you, wearing your meter makes a difference, you're doing a service, you're the best person ever, you rock, whatever. It's just like a rah-rah cheerleading thing to keep you motivated, which is not a bad idea because some people would probably feel forgotten if they never heard from these people until the end of their time being a panelist, or until they received a monthly check in the mail. That might sort of be like, ooh, wow, my check is lower. How come? Well, you didn't wear your meter enough. So, they do send these newsletters. The other thing they do is they'll send you postcards, letters in the mail. Honestly, that was kind of irritating to me, and I thought it was like, I don't know, I believe in the lean philosophy. I actually am certified in it, trained in it. And what I find is, why are you duplicating efforts? My thought is, someone prefers to be contacted in one of a few ways, contact them that way and save money. But they receive billions from the industries they support. So apparently they can afford to, waste quite a bit of money by, giving you the same messages in 8 different ways, even if you ignore the other 7. So that can be irritating. And the other irritation with that is every panelist in your home will receive the same exact mail. So when we receive this mail, there's 3 of us. So there would be a triplication of the same exact message, as well as us receiving these emails. There were text messages. Wow, they really want to make sure you're wearing your meter. And honestly, other than, like, my daughter would read the text. She never read the mail, never read the email. It went automatically to her spam folder. My husband did not read any of the mail in any format. I read the email, and I would recycle the junk mail that we received through the USPS, and I would just automatically delete the text messages. So that just shows you, each of us had a different way of processing this information or wanting to receive it. And all the other was just a wasted effort and an irritation to us, really, because we're like, we have a post office box. As you can see in the description of our videos, and therefore we don't want our box just filled up with stuff that we could care less about, like it's only so big. So that was, part of what we found as a negative. In the other thing that they did is they had promotions. So to make sure that they really picked up on the hottest times of the season, or if there was an award season for the Grammys, the Emmys, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, whatever other types of award shows are out there, they would, send us promotions, whereas it said something to the effect of, If you wear your meter for 8 hours every day from this date to that date, then we will enter you into a drawing for $500, $1,000, $2,500. I think the lowest was $250 and the highest was $2,500. So, not tons of money, but hey, it would, it's extra money you didn't have to work for, really, in a way. You had to give up, and that's what I think you're paying for. You're paying to give up your privacy for a certain amount of time. That's exactly what you are doing. So, as I stated, that rep said he could hear my heartbeat. Because he had to test my meter because I thought like it was a blank screen and we didn't know if it was working or not. And so I was like, wow, that means you could hear everything I say. He goes, yeah, that's what we do. We pick up everything you say, as well as radio, television, all these different signals that are going all over the place. And he's like, we can only pick that up if you wear your meter. So something to know about the meters. Oops, sorry about that. These meters have a light indicator. It's green. And when you're wearing the meter the way it's supposed to work and how you're supposed to wear it, right here on the side of the meter, you can actually see it. That little circle you see is actually an LED light. It will come on and it will be green. When you're not wearing the meter, your meter will go dark. Like this one, the battery needs to be charged. And if it goes dark, that means that they cannot pick up any information on you. So the other time that the meters go dark is when you put them into their charging cradles. If you put them into the charging hub or cradle, then after you read your daily messages, like on the screen, they'll have various messages telling you that you did a good job, or you need to wear your meter more, or you qualified for 6 entries into this particular promotion. It'll have your name, it'll have the date there. I think it even has the time. After it does all of that, at the end of the evening, when you put this away because you're going to sleep, then it will go black again. And that will let you know, supposedly, that they're not listening in on you until you put it on the next morning. So that's the other thing, the schedule. The schedule is that when you wake up, you put on the meter. So it should be close to where you sleep. So you can immediately do your morning stretches, kiss your honey with your morning breath, pet the dog, hope your child runs in and gives you a great big hug. Then you put your meter on and you start your day like any other day. There's a clip on the back so that it can clip onto your clothing. It doesn't do any damage whatsoever. You can request free holders. They will send you as many of the various holders that they have so that you have different ways, like if you're a runner, if you're a boxer, if you sit at a desk all day, if you're going to be out in the rain, or if you're going to a soggy beach, whatever the weather conditions are, however you wear your meter or want to wear your meter, they have a way for you to do that. So they're very accommodating and making sure that you can keep this thing on all day. And at the end of the evening, the only thing that you have to do is take the meter off, put it back into its charging hub, and you're done for the day. That's it. It's they've listened to everything you said, everything you did or didn't do, every show you watched, every radio station, you name it, they did it. They got that information. Yes, some people asked me like, oh my God, are they listening to you when you go to the bathroom? Yes. Are they listening to you if you don't plug it into the hub, I should say? Yes. Or if you put this down and it doesn't move for 20 to 30 minutes, the light, like I said, goes black, so nothing's being picked up. So if you're going to have sexual relations, that might be a good idea. Or put it into its little charging station, let it go black, and go at it like wildcats. So the other part of this is the payments. So the payments are monthly. So every month that you're participating at a minimal level, they will send you a check for as little as I think $25, $30 a month. The highest amount in where I live in the country is $55 a month. So you are not going to become rich off of these checks, but if you're smart and you invest the money instead of spending the money, you might actually make a profit off of these checks like we did. What we did is we deposited all three of our checks into our daughter's account. Well, I set up a separate account for her, and then I purchased stock with that money in the account, and after the stock went up to a certain level, I sold the stock, and we were able to make a pretty decent deposit into her regular savings, money market savings account. So that is how we game the system, if you will, to make more money than the little bit of money, which is, I think it's 160. How much is that a month for my family? 150, 160, 165. So my family, 165, there's only 3 of us. If you have 8 people that live full-time in your house, and they will know if they live in your house, because the other thing they can track is your location. So it is not possible to game the system. So when our daughter went off to college, for example, we called them, told them what was happening, and she came out of the program. But my husband and I remained in the program, so it is okay to make changes like that. So she was only in the program for a short amount of time, and my husband and I were in the program for approximately 2 years, I think it is. Maybe more than that. It had to be over 2 years. She only did it for 1 summer when she came home from college. That was it. And that's the other thing. If you have new people coming into your house that will live there full time, then obviously you can call and see if they qualify to be added to the program or not. And so that's really how it works. You know, on top of that, if you don't wear your meter for enough hours, as I stated earlier, your check will not be at the highest amounts. It will be at a lower amount. I think the lowest amount we received for one of the checks was like $35. And that was because of my daughter's situation. She was traveling quite a lot that particular summer when she was home with us, and she was a panelist for a little while. The other ways that they entice you so that you can stay in the program, and you can also like wear your meter as much as possible, is they do have other options such as different drawings. So they will, have a drawing around the time that they do the Grammys, the Emmys, whatever all those award shows are, Golden Globes, Tony, whatever, everything. Then they'll actually really want to get those numbers for those organizations. So what they will do is, have not contests, but drawings where your name will be entered. You earn a certain number of entries, and everyone in your household is a separate person. So they're separate entries. So you can have a whole bunch of entries into some of these drawings to win anywhere from $250 to $2,500. That was the lowest I saw and the highest I saw. We never, after doing this for that long and who knows how many hundreds of entries, we never won anything. We do think that that is kind of maybe like, we don't know how legitimate that is. And it's not because we didn't win, but even in our region of the country, it was rare. I think one time we saw someone that was from our region of the country win. We thought that was a bit, I don't know, shady, questionable, and of course, is that, occasionally a name put out there so that you don't bump into, Mariah X from New Hampshire or whatever? Don't know. So my thoughts on doing this. My thoughts are, if you're willing to give up your privacy, that is huge. You literally I mean, they'll hear your dog bark. Like, you are giving up your privacy. So if you don't want to do that, do not participate. If you're not going to be committed to doing it, do not participate. It makes no sense. They're going to kick you out of the program anyway. When you finish the program, you return all of the parts and pieces that they sent you. And you never pay postage for anything. If your meter breaks, they actually will send you a brand new meter via Federal Express, like 1-day service. It's amazing. And you just simply, and they put another envelope in there so that you can return the broken item. Like I said, if you need holders or carriers because you don't want to just use this little clip, they're really good about doing that. So the customer service side of it, I think they're very attentive, and I would say it's probably one of the highest levels of customer service that I've ever experienced. And my husband, my daughter also agree with these statements. Of course, it makes sense. They want you to do something, and they want you to do it well. So they're giving you the tools to do the job, which I wish every job out there would do that for their participants and their regular employees. The checks come right on time. I never really looked to see like what day they came or whatever, but we know that we received a check every single month. So for us, that wasn't a big deal. One of the last ways that you earn money from them is when you meet certain milestones, such as being a participant for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. And there might be another one in there where they actually will send you an extra check per person on top of your monthly check. So there are, that's one way to legitimately make some money from this, as well as your monthly check. If you're hoping to win a drawing for the up to $2,500, do not depend on that. You will probably never, ever, ever win. The only thing I think this amount of money is good for is, try to take it and turn it into more money. I am a amateur investor ever since probably the 1990s. I definitely am since the 1990s. And that's what I think you do with this. I mean, or it's money that you wouldn't have had before. So why just spend it on miscellaneous minutia? So there is a way for you to take that money and turn it into something else, whether it's in stocks. Bonds are awesome. Yes, these are things you might have to hold on for many years, or you might be able, especially bonds, you have to hold on to those for quite a while. And also if you deal in the stock market, obviously that could be risky, or just throw it into a savings account, a money market. Like it was money you would not have had in the first place. That's basically how it worked for us. That's what we did with the money. That's how much money we earned. We're now finished with the program. And like I said, I would say overall, my husband, daughter, and I agree that it was definitely not as invasive as we thought it was. The only thing is, all three of us agree that and I can't stress this enough, that if you need privacy, that is an issue. I know with my husband's job, he works in a secure location. And he was not even allowed to bring in his cellular phone. So bringing in spying devices like this, obviously were a no-no. You could not do that. So if your job, does not allow it, don't do it. You don't want to lose your job. And also if something happens, you don't want to be responsible. That the wrong information is getting into hands where it doesn't belong, whether it be confidential information or security type information. So you definitely need to be aware of that. If you're at work and you're going to high level meetings, then I would say this is something that you should not be wearing into those meetings. if you're talking to clients about their medical information, then, once again, I would say you should not participate in the program, or you should not wear this meter into those particular settings. So thank you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. If you have any more questions or something else you want me to cover on this topic, please leave a comment down below, as well as give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, then give us a thumbs down, but tell us why. And remember to subscribe to the Velvet Lounge. Thank you for tuning in.